Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the modestly entitled Rob Harkavy Interviews with me, Rob Harkavy. Now, my next guest is an actor whose TV credits include Luther, Holby City, and for fans of Dead Bodies, both Waking the Dead and Silent Witness, which may actually be a record. She's also been a regular recurring character in The Archers, which for those of you outside the UK is, I think, the world's longest running soap. It's been on BBC Radio since something like 1950, so it's even older than me. And she has numerous stage credits, from Arthur Miller to Shakespeare and a lot in between. Now, she's written and stars in a play called Sunnymead Court, and all I know about it is, with beautiful alliteration, that it's about lockdown lesbian love. So without any more messing about from me, let's give a massive Outnews Global welcome to Gemma Lawrence. Hello, Gemma.
Hello, lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for joining us. The pleasure really is ours. Now, I mentioned in my introduction that you starred in a lot of TV shows, and without wishing to butter you up, and again, for those people outside the UK, the shows that I mentioned really are sort of iconic staples of British television, not to mention The Archers on the radio. And I wanted to ask, when you join a show that is so long established and sort of so ingrained, I suppose, in popular culture, is there any kind of added feeling of nerves and trepidation when you step on that set for the first time?
I mean, yes, absolutely. Because, yeah, like you say, things like The Bill, Holby City, Casualty, absolutely a kind of the staples of British, you know, Saturday night TV or whatever it is. So, yeah, absolutely. I think the great thing about those shows is they're very used to having, they're sort of, the whole way they're set up is they have their guest people who come in, you know, the story of the week. So they're absolutely ready to receive you with open arms. So like always get a very warm welcome on those shows. But yeah, it's very fun. It's funny you mentioned Dead Bodies in your intro, because I think I've played 3 or 4 dead bodies. You know, that's where my characters ended up. No spoiler alerts, but yeah, that's where I've ended up. So it's you know, it's a classic thing. You get on those shows, your character dies. You know, it's a rite of passage, I think, for a British actor. Yeah,
you get on the slab, somebody pokes you around. Now, I'm just going to have to be a little bit fanboy for a minute, because I cannot ignore Idris Elba. Come on, I mean, I know you have a different sexual orientation, but you cannot be human and not recognize the animal magnetism of that man. And you had a kind of interrogation scene with him, didn't you?
Absolutely. And I completely agree with you on that. Yeah, no, he's a very, very attractive, charismatic man. And, you know, he comes onto set and everyone's like, oh, you know, I think, yeah, you're right. You cannot be human and not see the beauty of that man. And he's also a very lovely man to work with as an actor. And yeah, it's a very intense scene. Again, something like that, you kind of go in for a day and you're aware of this show and the kind of following that it has. Yeah. And the sort of high quality. It's such a quality program. And so, yeah, often the job with those kind of jobs is like, how can I psych myself into, like, it's the sprint. It's not the marathon. You're not going in every day. It's the absolute, like, I'm here for one scene with Idris Elba. Yeah, so it's, yeah, you have to sort of get yourself in the mindset of it. But yeah, very fun.
Yeah. Now, I also mentioned some of your stage work, and I noticed that you played Hero in Much Ado About Nothing, which in my view is the funniest Shakespeare comedy. And it really is the only one, I think, where the humour stands up today, because, you know, humour from 30 years ago sometimes isn't funny. You know, of all sort of genres, comedy is the one that moves through different stages of fashion, I suppose, most quickly. But Much Ado About Nothing is, I think, still funny. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the play, Hero is I suppose, the ingenue, the wronged, slandered bride who's ditched at the altar. And of course, in any of these things, nobody has a sensible conversation before and says, I've heard this, can you, it all has to be drama, but, that's drama for you. But about Shakespeare wrote some fantastic parts for women, Lady Macbeth, the sisters in Lear, and in fact, Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. But Hero is actually quite an insipid part. How do you go about how do you go about sort of creating something for 21st century sensibilities where we don't really expect our women to be so feeble and insipid when you're dealt that hand by the master storyteller of all time?
Yeah, no, I was very much nodding because I found Hero a very difficult role to play in that sense, because she's given almost no lines. Like I work with a really brilliant director, Max Webster, who directed it. And, we worked, we did our utmost to give Hero that feminist storyline, because, yes, she's wronged. She's they lie about her husband, or her husband to be, then slanders her in public and says, I don't want to ever see you again. And then when he finds out it was all a mistake, he's like, oh, I'll have her back. And she goes, well, she doesn't even say anything. She just marries him. So, it was a really tough job trying to wrangle, to give her any agency, any choice. So it was a tough job, but I think that the lucky thing was that me and the director were of the same mind, and we both found the role tricky for the same reasons. So it's hard, because she is absolutely not one of the greats who is given much to say. So it's difficult, but I think telling those stories with that in mind is really important, so you can give as much agency to those characters as possible.
Now, Sunnymede Court, it's been on before and you're soon to go on tour. Now, I did mention lockdown lesbian love, a phrase I'm so proud of. I've just said it again. But for those of us who know very little about it, apart from the 3 L's, can you set it up for us? Tell us about your character and how she fits into the action.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's lesbian lockdown love. I like that. I'm going to be taking that myself. It's very good.
You're welcome.
It's 2 women who live in balconies opposite each other, and it's set during the first lockdown, where we had that kind of, almost look back on it with sort of slight nostalgia, that amazing sort of swell of community, all the mutual aid stuff kicked off. There was a really amazing sense of people coming together. It's 2 women from their balconies who, without sharing a word, fall in love with each other. And, it's a celebration of those kind of very small moments of human connection that I think in another time would pass us by, but because we were all locked down, we kind of started to celebrate those smaller moments. It's a celebration of that. It is set during lockdown, but it's also, I hope, has an element of hope and humor, because it is about celebrating those moments of human connection. My character Marie has been inside for 3 months and lives on her own, and basically all of her interactions are now online, and she hasn't had any sort of face-to-face human interaction now for 3 months. And it's about the effect that lots of us experienced similar things, like, well, what does that do to your body? What does that do to your sense of self? It explores that. And the other character, Stella, it felt really important to. I know that there were lots of people in the LGBTQ community who were forced to move back to hostile homes, homophobic homes. And so the other character, Stella, that's what's happened to her. She's been forced to move back with her mum, who is very homophobic. So it's kind of looking at 2 very unique, different situations, and through each other, through that connection, they kind of bring themselves out of their kind of mutual isolation.
Yeah. Now, you talked a little bit earlier about how lockdown has decimated the arts sector. And so you've gone you've got about quite an innovative approach to funding this. So can you tell us about that, and maybe people out there can help?
Yes, so we've got a Kickstarter, which actually ends in 2 days' time.
Getting quick, folks, getting quick. We'll put the web address down there.
So yeah, it ends on Thursday at midnight. But yeah, we're doing a Kickstarter. It's an all or nothing. So either we get the full amount or we get nothing at all. And yeah, it's sort of, we were able to do it last time when we were able to hire loads of different freelancers, and that felt like a really exciting thing because freelancers make up the arts industry to a large extent, and lots of people have really struggled. So to be able to employ people and pay people and put art back on stages feels really exciting and important.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of my concerns really about the arts sector recovering from the pandemic, and specifically theatre, is that, and you can understand why, promoters and theatres themselves really need to recoup a lot of money. And are they going to take risks on young writers or sort of more avant-garde plays, or are we going to see more revivals of Oklahoma? And there's nothing wrong with Oklahoma, but you need a combination of both. And I do hope that that those with the money and with the funding and with the vision do take a few risks and sort of fund young people like yourself. So in the future, you don't have to go to Kickstarter. But if the Kickstarter is a success, when and where is the tour going to be taking place?
So we're going to be doing the 1st to the 4th of July at the Arcola Theatre in Dalston, which is, it's great theatre. And then the 5th of July, Duke's Lancaster. The 8th of July, Theatre Clwyd, which is in Mold in Wales. And then the 10th of July in Bath, Eustonov.
Yeah, have you got that written down, or did you actually memorize all that?
Instead of learning lines, I'm just learning the tour dates.
Well, I really, really hope that you reach your Kickstarter target. And I'm personally going to bung in a few quid. And guys, if you're watching this, and I know times are tough during the pandemic, and loads of us have taken a financial hit, but I hope I can speak for you, Gemma, when I say genuinely that every little helps, and you'll be doing your bit for basically telling stories that need to be told. Queer stories need to be told.
Yeah, Gemma? Absolutely. And even if you're able just to share it, that was really helpful. Even if you're not able to give anything, because we totally understand times are tough.
So I want to thank you, Gemma, for taking the time to join us today, and not just for Sunnymead Court, but for everything else you do in the future. I want to wish you much love, luck, and happiness. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.